Hey, what's up, my little Tattle Tells? How y'all doing today? Well, if you are Irv Gotti, you are making a D fool of yourself, y'all. If y'all haven't heard what's going on between Ashanti, Ja Rule, his B self. I can't even talk because I'm trying to stay monetized. And then Joe, I was about to say Joe Budden. And then Fat Joe coming in to the rescue. And even Judge Mathis jumped in and said he thinks Ashanti should pursue legal action. Y'all, let's get into this. Let me just give you a little backstory. Ashanti was like 2021 when she signed to Murder Inc., and of which Irv Gotti owned. And Irv produced most of the music of Ja Rule and Ashanti, and also J-Lo's biggest hits with Ja Rule. Now get this, Ashanti always denied any rumors of them having a relationship. So this Drink Champs interview was just him trying to humiliate her because Ashanti refused, in my opinion, to take part of his documentary, and because she wants her masters, and because he's a creepy misogynist who resented her for not continuing to be his plaything once she felt like she didn't need to play those games no more. Okay, so y'all got the backstory? There's another little tidbit you need to hear before I explain the details. Also, Ashanti and Ja are supposed to be super tight. So for him, in the interview when Irv was going in on her, I'm about to play it, he was like sitting there giggling, laughing in the back, being like, yo, don't do that, not really doing much of anything. So for Ja Rule to sit there and act like, and let Irv talk about her like that, it says way more about Ja Rule and lets you know how messed up that whole Murder Inc. crew is, because they're all supposed to be super close. I see how 50 came in and destroyed that empire and then took Ja Rule's sound. Y'all ready to get into this mess? All right, hit the like, subscribe button, baby. It's YouTube. You know what to do. Don't do me like Irv did Ashanti. Don't do me like Ja did Ashanti. But I will just say this. Another interesting thing in that interview that happened was then Irv tried to go in on J-Lo. And Ja Rule was like, no, we ain't gonna do that. We ain't gonna talk about that. How are you defending J-Lo? Someone, I'm sure they're friendly, but y'all are not super close, more than you're defending Ashanti. Man, I see why she left Murder Inc. Holla. Okay, fine, I'll stop. But let's get into these reports. First, let's listen to the BS that Irv had the nerve to say.
I could get past you wanting to be with Nelly.
Sounds like you didn't get past that. I'm just being honest.
Listen. At the time it happens, any man,
of course,
is hurt.
Yeah, right.
The chick you fucking are in love with is with this nigga.
Country grandma.
You wanna hear how I found out?
How you found this?
Only on Drink Champs. It's on the documentary too.
Yeah. How did you find out, sir?
I was at home.
And there wasn't no Twitter or Instagram back then.
I was at home. Okay. Listen to this shit. This is God wanted me to find out. I was at home. NBA package. I like watching sports. Oh my God, what's this commotion going on in the stadium? We just found out what the commotion is. Nelly has walked in with Ashanti.
Oh my God. First of all, first things first, right? You were married. So what you mean? I was sitting at home. You were sitting at home with your wife, hopefully playing with your kids. And then on NBA, you're like, oh, there's a commotion in the stadium. And you see Nelly walk in with Ashanti. And I'm like, okay, first of all, Irv, you're married, right? For him to be like, yo, God shows you things. It's like God wanted me to see. Boy, God was literally putting your name on the list of HE double hockey sticks. What you mean God wanted you to see? God had washed his hands of you a long time ago, right? And then you're talking about all the commotion in the stadium. All the commotion. Do you really think that Ashanti was hiding from you sitting front seat on the wood grain floors at the basketball thing with Mr. Country Grammar himself? Do you think Ashanti was hiding from you? Do you think she didn't want you to see? Do you think that she was like, oh my God, what am I doing on the Megatron? Boy, she broke up with you and you were just bitter because here's the thing. You talking about you wrote happy for Ashanti after y'all got done doing the deed. But I remember all Ashanti's other songs. Rain on Me, I don't know. They were some tortured love songs. I didn't even like listening to them because I was like, I don't want that energy into my life. But I will say this. So basically, you were 31, she was 20. This was literally a Me Too moment, and you got to be the nerve to get mad at her that she left under your grasp. Man, and then sit there and act like she did you wrong. And guess what? I think Irv Gotti, is he still married? I know he was still married up to a couple of years ago. God, if he did that to Ashanti, I hate to see what he did to his wife. Anyway, Fat Joe jumped in and was like, listen, why you do that, Irv, right? She said, listen, he said, y'all can add Irv Gotti, Ja, whatever the F you want, right? Whatever Irv has with Ashanti is 20 years old, right? This is what Fat Joe said. I know he was making some points that mean a lot to him, his heart and his soul. But when you keep ranting about somebody 20 years later, it feels like he's not over the young lady, right? Can I get an amen? You know what? Fat Joe is pretty unproblematic. I think about his whole career, he's been pretty unproblematic. I agree with everything he's saying. He also went on to say, also, we didn't know they were effing, right? Because the whole time I'm there, What's Love, Big Pun reported with them on tour. I never saw them together like that. Now, I'm not saying that they wasn't. They was. I never saw it, but I don't need to know. Now, it's okay if it's in a documentary. You got to say the truth in your documentary. But you go on Drink Tramps and keep calling her a B? You keep disrespecting her? No. That is out of line. Now, Joe literally even went on to suggest that Ja Rule should have stuck up for Ashanti during the interview. However, Ja Rule, and he's going to be corny for the rest of his life for this, literally said, stop saying I didn't defend sis and all women when I clearly told Gotti to stop calling Ashanti women the B word, the same way I told Joe at Versus to watch the interview before you talk ish. Now leave me the F out of this grown folk business. Let me tell you something, Ja, since you want to come into the thing. Ja, you definitely need, you got grown folk, you got grown felon business. Whatever happened with that Fry thing, that concert, that scam that he was involved with? But honestly, the fact that you're supposed to be very close to Ashanti, calls her your sister. Out of that whole interview, and I only played the part that was PG-13, it got really grimy. He spent the whole interview. He could have been talking about this documentary. He could have even been talking about the way he beat the feds. But he chose to sit there and dedicate a whole interview for Ashanti finally getting some self-esteem and leaving a married man. This should be applauded. This could be a cautionary tale. But like I'm saying, out of that whole disrespectful interview, Ja Rule thought the only problem was him calling Ashanti a B. Irv trying to humiliate Ashanti. Don't forget that Irv was on Wendy Williams a couple of years back. Oh, I was going to say R.I.P. Wendy Williams show, but yeah. A couple years back, and he swore up and down that him and Ashanti never did anything. So now you back, and because Ashanti's getting a little shine, you want to try to demean her and humiliate her, and somebody's supposed to be like my brother sitting right next to you, letting you tell all my business. I don't care whether you think Ashanti was right or not. It happened 20 years ago. Irv, let it go. And not even that, you were the person dead wrong. And you're doing this because you want your masters. And then in that interview, you're talking about some Ashanti's begging for her masters, and you're like, yo, she can't have her masters. How my kid's gonna eat? And then you turn around and say that you had $250 million from a TV show or a documentary. Man, make it make sense, but make Ja Rule make sense too. They are all trash, all of them. I really feel bad for Ashanti. She was that girl, but she was surrounded by basically, I don't know, the industry do strange things. I think about how Nelly treated her badly. Well, wasted her time. I don't know if he treated her badly, but Irv Gotti, 100%. And even someone that counts you as their little sis is sitting there letting somebody disrespect you and laugh at you and bring up the most painful time in your life and then be like, yo, I told you to stop calling Ashanti and all women the B word, but it's okay to disparage her name. But then when he tries to talk about J-Lo, you jump in and you want to play Captain Save-A-Ho. Man, I cannot. Let's look at Twitter, because Twitter has some stuff to say. And I they really all summed it up. Tony said, Irv Gotti really went on Drink Traps and disrespected Ashanti for 3D hours. For a guy with a legendary career, this interview is a prime example of why it was so easy for 50 to take his whole label out the game. Let the church say amen. Alex said, I was just listening to the Drink Traps podcast and I had to stop 20 minutes in because Irv is such a scum of the earth. Ashanti asked him for her masters and he doesn't want to give them to her on the basis of how my kid's going to eat without the royalty money. Yet 5 minutes later, he brags. Yep, I noticed that too. He brags about having $250 million to do a TV series. On top of that, he has the unmitigated gall to get mad at her for not wanting to be a part of the Murder Inc. documentary. And on top of that whole clip that's going around of him getting mad at her for dating Nelly when he was married. What a piece of work, piece of trash, piece of ish, excuse of a human. Christy said Irv was more than 30 years old, married a music executive who was coercing a teenage singer and songwriter on his label into a sexual relationship with him, but he has convinced himself it's a tragic love story where actually he's the victim and she broke his part. It's effing sick. Nuff said Irv Gotti beat the feds in $1 million money laundering trial, but instead of telling that story, he chooses to talk about that time he slept with Ashanti 20 years ago. Yo, these people are reading my mind. So I'm like, Twitter was on the same train we are. Veda said, Irv Gotti 20 years later, I was hurt when Ashanti got with Nelly. Like, how dare you cheat on me when I'm cheating on my wife to be with you? He wrote hits after having sex with me. You wrote the hits after having... Fam, we could have lived and died without this. Next question, God bless her. Works too. Irv Gotti is trying to acknowledge everything about Ashanti, except the fact that she was 19 and he was 30. Let's have that conversation. Indeed, Mr. Domingo. Finally, Will Smith slapped me, said, I'm glad Fat Joe publicly called Irv Gotti out for talking about Ashanti and calling out Ja Rule for just standing there while he was saying that ish. You're 52 years old, still being bitter about something that shouldn't have never happened 20 years ago. Creepy and cringy. Y'all, if that ain't the truth, I don't know what is. Y'all, prayers up to Ashanti. Please let her find the mental strength to purge herself of any memory of ever letting this cornball touch her. Anyway, let me know what y'all think in the comments, my little Tattle Tells. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.